Hello, Shavua Tov, everyone. Parshas Pinchas. It's a Shabbos Parshas Pinchas. Obviously, this Parsha this week is jam-packed. That which was read this week. Just want to maybe touch one single point on the fact that Pinchas was awarded Brit Shalom, which is the covenant of peace, for performing an act of great zealotry. So supposedly these are two contradicting concepts. On one hand, you have zealotry. On the other hand, you have a covenant of peace. Peace is exactly the opposite of zealotry. So the answer is that Pinchas was not a zealot. He was not a fanatic. His natural nature was shalom, was a peace-loving person. An act of zealotry from a fanatic is not something which is rewardable, definitely not by covenant of peace. Zealotry is actually the opposite. As nature, zealotry as nature, as a principle, it's the opposite of Avodas Hashem. Because a fanatic is someone who claims that everything is wrong and it's your fault. A person who is normal will say, things are wrong. It may be your fault. It may be my fault. We have to check it out. Now, the difference between knowing whether it is my fault or your fault is, first of all, if it's my fault, there's something I can do about it. If it's your fault, by definition, there's nothing left to do. Pinchas has met a situation that there was nothing you could do. In fact, Apiteri, he should not have put himself in this situation. He was in great danger. Pinchas acted out of deep caring for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he therefore acted against his very nature. And that act was the thing that got him the Brit Shalom, became a Kohen. This world is filled with people that are finding whose fault it is. If you go to any cafe anywhere, that or restaurant, whatever, the table, people are drinking coffee and schmoozing, and every table they're blaming somebody else. In one table, they're blaming the mayor, and another table they're blaming the prime minister, another table they're blaming one's husband or one's wife or one's friends, or every single table, they have somebody who's at fault. It's his fault. That is the opposite of true kanos. This is how a person absconds responsibility. The easiest thing to do is to point the finger at somebody else. The kanos of Pinchas was one of extreme caring. He cared. He put himself in a situation of extreme danger out of pure and unadulterated love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not something that wasn't his nature to do. That's why he got Brisi Shalom. That's he got the covenant of peace. Good thing to remember. When the Baal Shem Tov was davening Shmoneh Esrei with such awe, he would be shaking also after the tefillah. After he finished davening, he still stood and he shook for a long time. And he had to wait in Kriyas Torah till the Baal Shem HaKadosh has rested from his shaking, from his trembling. Once there was a big glass of water in the time of davening Baal Shem Tov, and they saw that the water were actually shaking. The Shechina was resting on the Baal Shem HaKadosh. And also all the grains when in a barrel was shaking when the Baal Shem HaKadosh would daven. It's a meridic Indian what people think about. When you think about the tzaddikim, you think about, the year of this one, and he was shaking, and he was this, and he was that. And it seems almost like a fairy tale. Not chas v'chalila that it seems like it didn't happen. Of course it happened. But it seems like it's almost doesn't have anything to do with me. Talking about Shem HaKodesh, you're talking about the Maggid of Mizrich, about the Rebbe of the Melech, talking about Reb Nachum of Chernobyl, talking about any one of those Gavaldik Tzadikim. And you talk about the great Yira that they had. People like to sort of project. I mean, it's true. I mean, they had this kind of Yira. I don't. But the feeling is that well, it's okay. Like I don't need this. They do. In truth, that Yira that these tzaddikim have, that any tzaddik has. The yira that any tzaddik has, the Rebbeinu says in Torah Samach Beis, is because he has cleansed, the Yetzer Hara from inside him, and commensurately, a person is zeicha to have feel of the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbeinu says in Torah Samach Beis that the reason why a person, doesn't daven with tremendous kavana, tremendous whatever, is because there is a latent heresy in a person's heart. It's not that like you have questions, unanswerable questions to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no, okay, it's normal, everything is fine, everything is but that fact that, Baruch Hashem, you have a fear of Hashem to the extent that you stay away from Averis as much as you can. And Baruch Hashem, you're thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the way you are, each person the way, his own personal relationship with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a tachlis of Olam Haba. But what about praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu is for recognizing, when you recognize what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has done for you, so you thank him. Praying HaKadosh Baruch Hu is for what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, not for what he did for you. And this is already a madrega that a person needs to ask. I mean, we can, Baruch Hashem, this is what we need to do. We need to open up the Hillim and read the praises that David HaMelech has praised the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We're starting by saying the praise of Kadosh Baruch Hu because we know that it is true, but it doesn't come out of Hispilus Nefesh. It doesn't come because the Kadosh Baruch Hu is hidden from me. So it starts by saying the Shvach HaKadosh Baruch Hu from Tehillim. That's a great Sichos of Tehillim. That even though I don't I don't recognize that. I don't recognize the praise of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yes, I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is great. And yes, I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Reality is, performed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a minute-to-minute basis. But it's almost like an intellectual knowledge. It's not an experiential knowledge. That I know that this is the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Mimele, to come and praise, to praise the Kadosh Baruch Hu is a lot more difficult, as an experiential thing. The year of the Baal Shem Tov, the year of all the tzaddikim, that is the keli from which they praise Hashem. And when you want to know what is the difference between Yiras HaInish and Yiras HaRoimimus of the tzaddikim that are to that, I said it many times. I heard it from Reb Shimon Teichner. I mean, we're talking about the flip side of that particular mashal. Yiras Hayinish, the fear of punishment, is like you're driving a car with your family to a picnic, and you come to a beautiful place. It's your desert, you're coming out, taking out a table, taking out, the cooler, folding chairs, whatever it is, and suddenly from about about half a kilometer away, you see a lion. Well, into the car goes the cooler. Into the car go the folding chairs and the folding table. And everybody, all the wife, the kids, everybody into the car. And you're getting into the car. Close the doors, close the windows, turning on, starting your car, and off you drive. I mean, clear and present danger about half a kilometer away. All right. That is called Yiras Hayinish. You realize, look, listen, everything, everything is accounted for. And because of this obscurity, it's just half a mile away. It's not right here. So you manage to stay away from this and stay away from that. And it's an active process as you get older and the distraction of this world become less and less. It's easier to get Yiras Hayinish. If you want to. If you don't want to, you don't get Yiras Hayinish. But when you're young, you have your family, you have this, you have money pressures, you have that, whatever. So, as the one said that suppose one I don't know, Shishiva, whatever it is, asked one of his talmidim, have you thought about Kadosh Baruch Hu today? The guy says, listen, I got to wake up in the morning, I got to daven, I got to learn. Who has time for that? Like, who has time for your Shemaim? Who has time to fear Kadosh Baruch Hu? But Yiras Hayinish is all that falls on a person when the lion is 10 feet away. When the lion is 10 feet away, you're frozen, even if you're having a gun in your hand. Chances are you won't be able to swing it and shoot the lion. You're frozen. When you're standing before a very great person, a really great person, you have that kind of, your tongue cleaves to the roof of your mouth kind of thing. And it's like, you can't say anything. You are frozen. You're not afraid that he's going to come and beat you up. This is Yiras Hayinish. The Baal Shem HaKodesh, Rabbeinu HaKodesh, the kind of year that they had, not only that they were shaken, but the house was shaking. The fact that they could contain this year is the Pella. Rabbeinu said, if you would reveal the year that he had, people won't be able to stand around his house, much, let alone enter it. The Olam Haba is all about Yiras Hayinish. Yiras Hayinish is the thing that allows you to experience the Noam Hashem. It sounds like Tata Desatra, the two things that are contradicting one another. But Yiras Hashem Yitzorah, the year of Hashem, is the oitzer. That's the tool. That's the silo. That's the container that allows the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the ultimate pleasure of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to enter and to be experienced. When you realize that you're in the presence of a very great person, you pay attention to every single word that he's saying. You pay attention and close attention, and when you do that, you are able to experience that which is contained in his words, in his very presence. I had a friend that many years ago, this friend was had polio, and he was driving a car, that had these hand things that you could, like drive the car, change gears, whatever it is, by using your hands, because he almost had no use of his legs. And one time he had the opportunity of driving the Stipler gun to a bris. I have no idea how this came about. And he said that his leg, his left leg, or whatever it is, that was atrophied since he was a boy, was shaking from fear when the Stipler came into his car. This is what the Sichos Haran can do. Get you out of yourself and experience. Let's take a quick look, B'ezrat Hashem, at the Sichos Haran for this week. And all right, here we go. Sikha number 188. Rabbeinu said, it's a wonder for me if you bring a pidyon nefesh to someone and you tell him, what the tsar is, what the problem is, like somebody who is sick. He says, Rabbeinu said, it's a wonder when if somebody brings him a pidyon, that he doesn't feel the tsar and the isurim like the sick person himself. What was coming out of his dvarim is that Rabbeinu himself feels the tsar and the isurim when they come before him. So he should daven on the cholim, exactly like the cholim himself. And Rabbeinu said a few times, in the very beginning, I used to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I should feel the tsar, the isurim of Israel. So because sometimes somebody would come to me and tell me his pain, and I wouldn't feel his distress, and I wouldn't feel that distress, and I would daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I should feel the tsar of this Israel. He says, now when somebody tells me his tsar, his distress, I myself, says Rabbeinu, feel the tsar more than him. He says, my heart is bleeding, from the great of the tsar, that I feel more than him. Because the ill person can think other thoughts, can think some kind of analgesic, I don't know, whatever, and forget the tsar. He says, but I feel it very, very much. And this culminates in this one thing that we really need to know about all the tzaddikim, Efrat, about Rabbeinu. He said to one of his people that asked him not to forget him, Rabbeinu says, how can I possibly forget one of you? Each and every one of you has a place in my heart. This Sikha alone, for that last line, obviously there's to learn about the fact that when people tell you that tsar, the reason why we don't feel the tsar is because we are closed off in being who we are. Our heart is closed. But that particular Indian, that last line, we spoke about it in in Breslev. Maybe it was last week. That there are different levels of loneliness. There is a level of loneliness when there is nobody around you. You are alone. It's very palpable loneliness. It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. Because when a person is all alone, there's nothing to distract him from his loneliness. As Rabbeinu said in that particular Sicha, you can get in conversation with somebody, there's certain kind of thoughts, different things. You forget about your particular problems and pains. But when a person is all alone, there's nobody around him, he's able to pay attention to everything, to all his problems, all his pains, all his I feel a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit this, that, because there's nothing to distract you. Then there's another loneliness when there are people around you. But you don't feel that anybody cares. Lo echpat lehem. Okay, they're with you. It's like mutual using. They use you, you use them. Whatever. It's like you're still alone. You have people around you, but people don't really care. And then there is another loneliness, which is you inside your own head. There's nobody there with you. It's not just that there's nobody with you. It's not just that that nobody cares. In that level of loneliness, nobody even knows you. Nobody knows that you that is inside your own head alone. In fact, even you don't know who you really are there. When you have certain, musagas of who you are, what your traits are, usually you're more aware of what your problems are. I'm bad at this and at that, and I did this and that, but who am I exactly is a very nebulous kind of, I'm somebody plus minus within these borders. And around this, there's like a space, like a vacuum that is also me, but I have absolutely no idea who this is. This is why people have this great desire to find somebody that will, quote unquote, accept me the way I am. Why accept me the way I am? Why Dafka this kind of wording? It's because I myself don't know who I am. I am that which I realize, and I realize that I know myself in a very, very narrow kind of angle, which is not it's not all who I am. It's a certain part of who I am, but it's not completely who I am. It's a very jaundiced view of who I am. There is a lot more to me than that which I realize. Obviously, much more to me than other people realize. I want somebody to accept me just the way I am, pack and caboodle, the whole shebang. What I know, what I don't know, see me from all the places that I cannot see myself. That is the tzaddik emes. Rabbeinu says each and every one of you has a place in my heart. Rabbeinu knows you the way you are, the way you don't know that you are. Because you have to understand one thing. You see yourself what all your shortcomings. I don't do this, I don't do that. My word means something, doesn't mean something, whatever it is. Whenever I see something, I feel jealousy, I feel this, I feel whatever. But there is one true universe that contains everything, that sees everything, that sees everything that you are. And in that universe, you are 100% clean. You're 100% blameless. That's the Nakuda that the tzaddik sees you. From where you are to that particular point there's a road to take. There are steps to take. It's a voida to do. But the reason why people are being pulled to the tzaddik with such intense force, people come to Uman as they cannot even describe whatever has happened to them, but they're hooked on it, is because they have felt that Nikuda, the tzaddik has put a point. He has seen you for the clean, blameless, sweet, complete, holy Jew that you really, really are. B'ezrat Hashem, Kodesh Baruch Hu will bring us for Rosh Hashanah to Uman, B'ezrat Hashem. We'll all be there by the tzaddik. The tzion is the fountain that brings light to all the olamas. Everything gets a chayas from Rabbeinu HaKadosh. I spoke to David a week ago, and we said that Nekuda, Rabbeinu says, that the tzaddik has a koach hamoshech, the Torah Ayin Beis, that the tzaddik has this koach hamoshech that pulls all the world to him, pulls all the world to Avodas Hashem. That pull that you have to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that no, life is not good enough the way it is without me serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I got to do it. That is the Koach HaMoshech of the Tzaddik, not only by Breslov, mind you. The Tzaddik is the Koach HaMoshech to Avodas Hashem of everyone. Breslov, the Breslov, Baruch Hashem, it's an extra mile. But anybody and everybody who serves the Kodesh Baruch Hu anywhere, doesn't matter if it's Ger, if it's Lubavitch, if it's Vishnitz, if it's anyone, if it's the Litvakis, anyone that has a Mashiach, that a pull to Avodas Hashem, that is from Koach HaMoshech, from the Tzaddik. And the thing that keeps people away is koach hamachriach. That's the koach that forces people away from the tzaddik. But I feel I'm getting closer. I'm being pulled to Kadosh Baruch. I'm not being pulled to the tzaddik. And achinami. Exactly it. By us, it's like it's like two things. There's the tzaddik, the Kadosh Baruch. So what am I being pulled to? The answer is Yosef HaTzadik was the conduit between the Avos and the Shvatim, patriarchs, and the tribes. Was Yosef a patriarch? No. Okay, so was Yosef a Shevet? Was he a tribe? No. His children were. So what is Yosef? I mean, it got to be one of the two. No, Yosef is the entire kesher between the Avos and the Shvatim. The tzaddik is completely there. He's everything. And he's completely not there. Your kesher to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that you just see HaKadosh Baruch Hu straight on, that is the tzaddik. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and achinami. It's all the tzaddik, and the tzaddik is completely not there. It's not chazachil shituf. Tzaddik is not. It's like when you're speaking on the phone to somebody. Are you speaking to the phone? You're speaking to the person on the other side. You're speaking to the person. So what is the phone doing here? Because without the phone, you can't speak to them. So the phone is completely there, and the phone is b'chal not there. This is what the tzaddik is. And the tzaddik is a human being with a heart, and you are embedded and baked into the walls of his heart. Which Baruch Hu should help us. That should all be coming to close to Kadosh Baruch Hu, trying and Man Hashem being happy with every single Shabbat that we keep, every single Yom Tov that we keep, every single lulav that we ever shaken, every single pruta that we gave tzedakah. I mean, it was so good and seeing all the stuff that we don't do and we didn't do. Oh man, this is all evident. It's staring us in the face. But what about the good stuff? What about the good stuff? Before we get off, I want to share with you a cute thought that I had in my mind. Bilam. Bilam Arasha is like the filthiest human ever. I mean, it's just like, ugh. And the nefuah, the prophecy of Bilam is Matovu Alecha Yaakov Mishkanosecha Yisrael. Chazal said that initially they wanted to put it in Kriya Shema, that you say twice a day. I said, but it's too long. The prophecy that comes from the filthiest human being ever. So the Orachaim HaKadosh, that was his Yortzeit last week, said that Bilam was so filthy that Baruch Hu used him as a conduit through which the Nevuah will go through completely untouched. Has nothing to do with Bilam. Shlomo Melech said, Mi ten tahar mitome, who can bring out pure from defiled? Lo echad, not one. There's one creature. That creature itself is tumah, but what comes out of it is kosher. And that's the bee and the hornet. The honey. Bees and hornets is kosher. The passage says, why is it kosher? Because the honey passes through the body of either the bee or the hornet, but it doesn't come from the body of the bee or the hornet. It just passes through. That's why it is kosher. Interestingly enough, the very beginning of Parshas Balak, the Baruch Hu comes to Bilam and says, "What are the people that came to you?" Making himself like he doesn't know. It says, Balak, the king of Moab, he sent to me and this and that. Baruch Hu, don't go with them. Tell him, don't go with them. He says, okay, maybe I will, I can curse them from where I am. And he says, don't curse them. But he says, okay, let me bless them. Because Baruch Hu says, they don't need your blessing. Now she says very peculiar detail. Now she says on the spot, he says, like people say to the hornet, I don't want your honey and I don't want your sting. So it's a remez that Bilam is such a bechina of bee and hornet that the honey that comes from is not from them. The sting comes from them. So keep your honey, keep your sting. Bee and hornet is one thing. Bilam is another. Okay, we'll see. Take it or leave it. So they all have B'ezrat Hashem a great week. Mitzvah Hashem. On Monday night we'll learn Sipurey Baal Shem Tov, hopefully. B'ezrat Hashem, and have a good week, a healthy week. Everybody should feel well, should be well, and be matzliach with everything. Kol Tov and Shavua Tov to everyone.